I I walk through this cemetery every morning on my way to work. Last Tuesday, there was a new gravestone with my name on it. His name was Mehdi, 34 years old, who'd taken the same shortcut through the Old Town Cemetery every weekday morning for almost 3 years. A quiet, tree-lined path that shaved nearly 10 minutes off his walk to work. He knew that cemetery well. Every row, every worn path between the older sections and the newer plots near the back fence. He rarely looked closely at individual stones anymore. The way anyone stops noticing scenery they pass every single day. That Tuesday morning was no different, until he was nearly at the far gate, and something made him stop midst. A new headstone stood in a section that had been empty grass just days earlier, freshly placed. The kind of clean, unweathered stone that hadn't yet had time to settle into the ground properly. His own name was carved into it. Full name, correctly spelled, no ambiguity, no similar name he could rationalize it as belonging to someone else. His birth date, beneath the name, was exactly correct. The second date, the one that should have been blank or non-existent, was set exactly 9 days from that morning, a Friday, ordinary in every other way. Mehdi told himself, immediately and firmly, that it had to be some kind of mistake, a mix-up at the cemetery office, a prank from a co-worker with an unusual sense of humor, anything other than what it appeared to be. He went straight to the cemetery's small administrative office that same morning, before work, asking directly about the stone, the plot, who had ordered it, and why. The woman at the desk pulled up the plot number on an old computer system, went quiet for a long moment and told him, carefully, that according to their records, that specific plot had been reserved and purchased over 30 years earlier, long before Mehdi was even born, under his exact full name and birth date, paid for in full, with no family contact information ever attached to the original paperwork. No one currently employed at the cemetery had any memory of processing it. The original clerk who might have handled it decades earlier had passed away years before, with no records explaining who had actually walked in and arranged it in the first place. Mehdi asked directly whether the death date could simply be removed, corrected, or explained as an administrative placeholder. The woman told him, quietly, that in over 15 years working there, she'd never once seen a death date pre-filled on a headstone before an actual death had been formally reported. Every other stone in that section, she confirmed, had been engraved only after burial. Mehdi stopped taking the cemetery shortcut entirely, rerouting his morning walk, despite the extra 10 minutes it now cost him. He told a few close friends, half expecting them to laugh it off. Most did at first, until he showed them photos of the stone itself, at which point the jokes stopped fairly quickly. Days passed uneventfully. Nothing unusual happened at work, at home, or anywhere else in his routine. He started, cautiously, to believe it really had been some kind of elaborate, tasteless prank planned by someone who'd somehow accessed old records to make it convincing. 2 days before the date on the stone, curiosity, or something closer to compulsion, brought him back to the cemetery gate, just to look from a distance, without walking the path itself. The stone was gone. Not removed carefully, not a fresh patch of dirt where it had been dug up. Simply gone, the grass beneath where it had stood, undisturbed and fully grown in, as if nothing had ever been placed there at all. The cemetery office had no record of ever removing it, and no explanation for its disappearance either. On the actual date, that Friday, Mehdi stayed home from work entirely, unwilling to risk even the possibility of coincidence, spending the day with friends who'd offered to stay with him, mostly out of concern, rather than genuine belief. Nothing happened. The day passed uneventfully, hour by hour, until well past midnight, when Mehdi, unable to sleep, finally allowed himself to believe it was over. At 12:47 a.m., his phone buzzed with a single text message from an unknown number. No name, no contact saved. It read only, "Not yet. Next time there won't be a warning." Mady never found out who sent the message or who ordered the original stone, decades before he was even born. He still avoids that cemetery entirely, taking the longer route to work every single day since. He says he doesn't know if it was ever really about that Friday at all, or if it was simply a warning that something, someday, is still waiting on its own timeline. If this one got to you, subscribe. There's a new true story every week. Would you have stayed home that day, or gone about your life as normal?